Hey, this is our natural environment, obviously, because this is the School of Architecture since almost a year back. We are in this building. So welcome to our building, let's say. And maybe you should introduce yourself, Molly.
My name is Molly, and have been a student here since 2012. And I was also the president of the architecture chapter 2 years ago, and that was during the time where we had our most intensive cooperation.
Yeah.
And this is Molly.
Yeah, and I'm a teacher here at the School of Architecture since many years, and I'm also the program director since 1.5 years, and I'm also an educational developer since 1 year. So, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about a letter, right? This is a letter that you, Molly, and the year year number one sent to the director.
Exactly. That was like my whole class really signed off on this letter that we sent during the Christmas vacation, because we thought that in our education we missed the half of the architecture architects, because there were no female architects that held lectures, and there were no female architects that were presented in any of the examples that we were experienced during all of our lectures and all of our classes. So we sent this email to note that we had detected this anomaly that we thought was really something that we thought was odd in our education. So we sent this email, and then that was the start of a really long history that resulted in something very, very good in the end.
So there were lots of these letters coming in, emails to the former director of the school. I wasn't in the director at that time, but there were lots of emails and communication about, the future starts now, we really love our lectures and the lecturer, but we need to have a better representation. And there were this kind of material as a base for a change. And of course, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, year one. And this was also something you were doing during a period of time, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so we collected all of these signatures of people that thought that this malrepresentation of only male architects didn't feel really good. So we collected signatures from people, and I think that we had a whole bunch of papers that we left as a present to the director of our program, or also. So this was kind of a continuous process that we kept on going.
Yeah. You were really stubborn in this process, and you were never giving up. And then there came also Monday Caramel, let's say,
yes,
Måndagskaramell.
We call this Måndagskaramell. That's like a reminder that we sent out to all of the staff here at architecture school, since we thought that we experienced that none of our efforts to point this out made any progress. So we decided to go directly to the whole staff and tell them that we thought that this problem of malrepresentation foremost, but also that we think that it would be actually a big improvement in our education if we also saw female architects talking to us, but examples of female architects building houses. And that's kind of the content of this letter. So we had a whole range of different receivers for all of these reminders about how we thought that maybe this could be an improvement for our education. So this was kind of going directly to everyone that we thought should hear this.
So that was when you were in year 2 and you were sending out this. And you said in the end here that together we make a difference. And then we had Maria Ekblad, who was in charge of the gender equality, and you as a chairman here in this. And then there came a letter to the lead of the school, the director of the school, and they were writing also that, this is important. We all need to think about this kind of balance concerning references and so forth. And that's what I got when I started my new job, let's say, in August. I had a bunch of papers talking about, you also made, during the summer, you sent this önskelista that you wanted different kinds of things, investigation, and that was from your board.
Yeah.
During the summer. And then I started my new job as a program director, and then I started to look at KTH, what was the rules, what was actually KTH saying in this matter, and then this was presented the first day as being in my new position. And then we started here immediately, low-tech investigating and looking through references and how could we change in a very simple low-tech way with representation and working together.
Yeah. So this is kind of at the beginning of our cooperation. So
Yeah.
we met in this question that we both like. All of my board of the architecture chapters thought that this was something that we needed to put a lot of effort into, and
That's
you
where we
thought
met
that as well. Yeah.
So we met in this togetherness that we wanted to make a change, and we wanted to make it pretty quick. And we started working because this is a situation at the School of Architecture. For example, these are the references I was responsible for. I started to look through my own material, and that was 86% men of the references. And yeah, there was a little bit to consider here. And then I invited all the students from year 1 to 5 to this kind of gender equality society, which I created, and then I made myself kind of the leader of the group, let's say.
Inspirator.
Yeah, and then I invited everybody to come to have a coffee and lunch and discuss, and that was the start. And we started pretty hysterical working with this, and
yes, it was really intense.
Yeah, and this is a symbol of our gender equality society, and there was an article also that another student wrote, because here now this generation, you were in year 3, your third year. And then she wrote, oh, this is great, because there is a gender equality society where we actually can work together here. It says, oh, we are working together with this question. And that was something she felt proud about KTH, that we actually had this kind of institution.
Yeah, so we printed also worked in different ways to like spread information about this and make people aware of that this society was existing and up and running, and then also to make people know that that was someone was watching these questions. So we made pamphlets that we handed out to all of the students at their desks, and
to the personnel as well.
Yes, everyone received this information. So that everyone who wanted to participate in this process could actually make a contribution. And this is how it looks.
An example.
Yeah.
For example, so this is something. How did we work in this society? Okay, I made, for example, a checklist with maybe 15 bullets, and then I came with the material to the students, and we were sitting down, and I said, okay, I don't know, can you help me with this? And we were helping each other, and made this kind of distillate, and I could, like 5 points about inequality. And this kind of really being colleagues in this process, that was like the main idea about our cooperation. And that was one example. And then you must tell them about this. This is so fantastic.
Yeah, because we made this wish list, and we thought that since we really want this work to go to proceed, and then maybe not finding like the proper I don't know. Maybe we wanted someone from the outside to come look at our school, because once you're inside, and people who work here have been working here for a long time, and they've also been students here, so it can be really hard to detect these structural issues. And so we found this company or organization, Agender, and they perform these equality evaluations for companies. And we thought that it would be a good idea if they came here and studied our school for a bit.
Yeah, But can you imagine? The students have already prepared the consultants and they have already met them and they are great, so we can just buy them. I mean, this is such a seriousness in this kind of cooperation that you really take it serious. I think then it's also very easy to take something serious when the other part is taking it serious as well. I think so that was really great that there was a preparation from your side as well. Because the product, let's say, was also the rules for gender and diversity that was produced and then decided since August this year. That was like one of the products that we were working with together. Of course, also with the rest of the school as well. So why do we have this here? Yeah, you see in the middle here, the student and the teacher. We are sharing the same environment. We are in the same world. We are like being exposed for lots of the different tools during everyday life at a university. And that's what we realize, that it's so much the same world we actually live in here at the university. So teachers, director, students, we are sharing, and we are really important thing to benefit from.
Yeah, so I'm sure that many of you have experienced collaborations between students and teachers and faculty, and like within these groups as well. And you've probably been experiencing both really bad ones and really good ones. And then when we sat down and tried to figure out what were their conditions for a really good collaboration, it all sounds like cliches, but we think that they also really work. And just because it sounds really easy to like listen to each other, but I think that is really hard, because you need to understand that you come from really different conditions, and then you need to meet in some mutual issue that you need to solve, like a problem that we needed to take care of.
Yeah, and
in our case at least.
Yeah, and also this, that we really appreciated each other in this kind of work, that we couldn't really cope without each other. That was really an important thing.
Yes, and then that you allow this forum or this collaboration to change and to like allow people to make mistakes or admit to mistakes that you've done in the past. That's also really important for us, I think, because it hasn't been a straight line, even if it seems like that now when like looking back.
And also this about recognize, I mean, these different conditions is that also being really curious in each other's conditions and realizing the obstacles and the other, how it can actually look for the other part. And also this, of course, about abandon your prestige is an important thing that worked out.
So here's some more cliches. But what we experienced to be really successful is that you find a specific forum for a specific question or for one specific purpose, so that we created Jämställdhetssällskapet in order to be able to discuss more freely and come up with ideas and strategies for continuing to work together and making this happen. And then you need to create another forum if you want something else to happen. And then it's important to make the people in this collaboration to know that they also matter. And that's really easy if you have a clear goal, or if the forum has a specific cause to handle. And you don't.
Oh,
you can't give up.
What do you say?
You can't give up. That was my
no. That's
point.
For sure. That
just in that case, this would have never happened if we.
No, but I mean, what a long process! It took several years before somebody responded on your, in a very nice tone, communication with the director. I think it's great that they still had a nice spirit about it. So I mean, listen. This is so obvious, but so difficult. Listen to each other. And then when you have listened, talk and explain the backgrounds for why it is like this. And then also, I think we have been talking about how to give a cooperation a high status. That's also something that actually matters. How do you frame this cooperation? how do you give it a high status? I mean, it can be through all different kinds of things, but you need to really make it give it a high status. And then give each other true appreciation. That's also very cliché, but if you can really be generous and give each other appreciation, then you can come so much further. And if you don't find the perfect forum where it has relevance, then you just create, as Molly said, you create the perfect forum for this matter. And we were also talking about the importance of the issue, that both parts somehow have the same strong feelings about. I mean, the teachers and the students together really think this is something that we absolutely should work with during exactly this period of time. That's also really important for this success. And we were also talking about, for example, nice manner, which can sound strange, but it's important that you have respect for each other's conditions and you treat each other in a nice manner, that you say Merry Christmas in a letter, or I mean, it's super banal, but still it's so much easier to get the contact with students if you keep it professional and the students are doing the same. That's and also the importance of curiosity we were talking about. So this is like showing the conviction, or how would you say, 70% love for the subject, and that needs to be the same for the issue that we were talking about. Oh, Molly and the students, you feel 70% committed, and the teachers or the director, the management, they also have 70%. Can you believe this? I mean, then it will actually work because we are on the same level. That's really something interesting. And this, how would we describe this picture?
Well, this is also about equality and making people like an exchange between student and teacher that doesn't involve hierarchies or doesn't have to be connected to, I don't know,
No, because
what you can really do or anything, but because we have different positions, but is it possible to find a way to communicate anyway?
Yeah, because if you have the same energy concerning this matter, then it's so easy to really see that we are actually communicating and giving each other super tips. And without each other, nothing would actually have happened. I mean, so maybe also we talked about that we need to look at that we have different hierarchies and admit it. And then we can discuss how do we find this kind of, we are on the same level in this kind of situation. To be true, to really dare to talk about hierarchies, because it's a part of everything, of course. Okay.
So we'll leave you with this picture.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, tack. Yoga, do you have a question, or is there time for?
It's more a comment than a question. It's about, I'm impressed by what you achieved, both from the previous presentation at the architecture school, where you empower students and treat them as colleagues. They can produce both new knowledge as the dome, or help you with questions we've been struggling for in the past 100 years. So congratulations, you should teach us to the rest of KTH how you do it, I think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would support my colleague what he said, but I will put also a caveat in this whole, because this is a very complex discussion, and it goes to the problematic of gender equality when women come out of the schools. And there's also a big discussion on Australia and England, why only 40 to 50% of women, female students starts, why only 20% finish? And then it's also very difficult to get the example because there is not enough women ending up in architectural offices in high positions. You're going to have Richard Meyer and partners, it's a man. There's a lot of women working. But in order to get to a principal, that's to become a principal, co-principal of the company, that's very, very difficult. So it's more like a structural problem. How do you keep more women of actually ending in the profession, not losing it? And there's a lot of different reasons for that. Sexism is not one reason. That the diversification of jobs for women instead of men. Men are difficult to find jobs when they come out of the architectural schools. They usually go for the same thing, for the architecture, but women find something else. And the third one is, of course, the parenthood. So all of that produces these problems of the lack of examples in literature. So I agree definitely with you, but the structural problem is the one that one has to work with, too.
It's very interesting because, I mean, there are actually lots of people in the world who nobody wrote about, or, oh no, they forgot to collect their stuff, they throw it away. Oh no, we don't have to make a book about that person. No, we don't invite that person. No. I mean, there are so many reasons why we end up in this. And I think, of course, there are hidden treasures in all our fields. But we need to struggle and find and see to do the findings also that actually exist. And we don't have to rewrite. Somehow we need to, this is also soon history, our time. So at least we can now act in such a way. And that was also you as students have been really coming up to the teachers after the lectures saying, hello, how can it be that you mentioned one woman and she was the wife of blah blah? It's not okay. And that was so in a nice manner. I think it's such a great, yeah, you have a question?
Not a question, it's a comment that the product of architecture, it should be used, or it will be used by all people, men, women, children. So I think the same process should happen here, discussion between the producer and the customer. So all of the customers to get a more fair result, which is suitable for everybody.
Hello. I think you are doing a great job, especially in teaching how to assess in an objective way. But because of architecture, and you just said that, you mentioned, oh, well, we just mentioned one example, and this was the wife of one famous other person. I think especially art, and this is one example I had when I did a street artist tour in Tel Aviv. And then we saw a lot of like graffiti and so on. And then one person asked like, oh, how many women or girls are they who are spraying? And then actually I can't remember the answer of the guy who led the tour, but one comment of my cousin was that, like, what a question, does this really matter? And I also think, especially maybe in architecture, which is a kind of art, shouldn't you really, well, I think you shouldn't think about if this work is from a guy or a man or woman, rather to think about how can I assess it in an objective way without knowing who actually did this. So, and because, yeah, for example, this building, we can now discuss if this looks nice or not, but for me, actually, I don't care if a woman designed it, a man designed it, and isn't this a kind of like art, but the way how to assess this and how to discuss this should be objective. So I think there you did a great job, but I think you shouldn't decide upon certain examples whether are they from men and women, because then you just widen the gap. You should rather assess it objectively without maybe knowing who did that.
Well, to answer that, maybe I can phrase it like, if it didn't matter to anyone, if there were no structural issues, then why is it 97% men represented in all of our examples? Because apparently it matters to the world if it's a woman or a man, because otherwise that would probably be a more equal setting. But since it's not, it is important to discuss it, I think. Because apparently it is not an equal situation for men and women in the field, and it's not just in history, it's right now as well. So it's really important to discuss, I think. And it's not about quotes, really, it's about discussing the issue and raising the issue all the time, so that it's not forgotten that, well, female students are not likely to be represented in a lecture in a few years. And that's a fact. And that's really sad, I think.
We have time for one more question, and that's the last one. And I do note that is a question. Comments are for Fika.
It's a question. It's actually a question, yes. I'm amazed of the 70% you said commitment from the staff. How did you get that? That's like, I can't believe it, sorry.
It wasn't from the whole staff, let's say. Maybe that's impossible to get like 70%. But where there were lots of actions being made, like education for all the personnel here at the school, that was absolutely necessary for everybody who works here to attend to. And that's also a good thing. You can make it a necessary part of your being part of the faculty. So you have some basic knowledge, because we don't have it. So it's so great to have it. Then we can avoid different kind of talks, like why do we have it and so on. Why do we need gender equality and diversity? Well, let's not go that road. We absolutely need it, and we absolutely know why. But we need to know the basics, and we don't. So it's great that we educate ourselves in this kind of stuff, I think.